When do you feel like you weren't living an authentic life? When did it occur to you? How do you break that cycle? Why do you think so many people are afraid of silence?
Welcome to Sauna Sessions. You put this whole thing together. So if you're listening to this episode, this is a solo episode that I'm doing with my producer, Dustin. We're here, we're sweating it out, and now the tables are going to turn. You're going to ask me a couple questions in the sauna, and then after this, we're going to have the hydration session where we go to some of our community questions, and then we'll get those answered.
Yeah, I think this will be a fun, kind of interesting one.
Yeah.
It's definitely very different sitting in here, feeling this heat and
It's not hot yet, though. I'm sweating. I'm already sweating a little bit. I'm always the most sweaty person in the sauna. That's so interesting.
We'll compete. I'm a pretty sweaty person.
Are you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see.
Cool. There's so many questions to ask you and to kind of get to know you. I feel like people always hear your videos and the advice and things that you have, but I want to know, and I think everyone wants to know more about how are you functioning today? There's so much going on with mental health. You hear about all these shootings, you hear about all these, this racism and attacks, and what do you think is stemming all of that today? And what can we do to really heal society?
Well, first, I think it's heavily imbalanced. I think there's a lot more good than bad happening in the world. I think when we look at the issues that we face, you mentioned shootings or violence. I think there's a lot more acts of kindness than acts of meanness and anger and darkness and low vibration. So, for me, it was always my mission to kind of bring out the better angels of the world, of people, and first of myself. How do I cope? How do I heal? What's my practice? I try to stay centered. I realize you can't pour from an empty cup. And so I try to take care of me first. It's a relationship quote. And they say, I'll take care of me for you. And I want you to take care of you for me. You come first, right after me. And I think if we had that idea, if we really embodied what we want to see in the world first, and we really took it's a bad word. I don't know if we can curse on the podcast, but responsibility, which is a bad word for most people. Most people hate that word. But if we take responsibility for our actions, for ourselves, for the thoughts that come and go that we attach to and cling to, that's the first step to healing. You don't even have to know that you can heal. You just have to know it's possible. And once we recognize that it's possible to change, to transform, that can give us the confidence to actually make the steps. And, unfortunately in our world, you see people in my space in the personal growth and development. It's really the paradigm in the world in general is about making these big, large, transformative leaps and changes in our lives. And, I think it's good. Innovation, quick innovation, fast innovation is good, but I'm all for small steps. I'm all for small steps. I'm all for a principle called Kaizen, which is a Japanese word meaning small, continuous movement. The journey of 1,000 miles begins in a single step. We see hurricanes and tornadoes all over the news and we see, whether it's tsunamis or whatever, but little bitty tiny termites do more damage than all of those combined. It's little bites, small bites. And I think in our lives, if we really want to change, it's the small things every day. So for me, I try not to look at the big things. I mean, I have grand visions and ideas that I want to achieve. But for me, when I'm really in a sane state, and it's easy to become not insane, but unsane in our world today, it kind of pushes you to that. But when I'm in a sane framework and mindset, I realize that it's only this moment. The magic is only in this moment. Somebody said, make the day a masterpiece. And I love that. But I put my own spin on it. I say, make each moment a masterpiece, because it is so precious and you can't hold on to it. It's already gone. We'll never come back in this sauna again, just like we did. We'll never laugh at the same jokes like we laughed at them the first time. This moment is really beautiful. And that's why we were talking earlier about, a lot of the guests when they're asked, when's your favorite time in life? And a lot of them say now. And whether it's true or not, it is the enlightened answer. Because now is the only moment that's alive. The past is a graveyard. The future is a fiction. doesn't exist. It's only the now. So when we can take care of the now, the future will take care of itself.
It's so easy to get stuck in the past, to replay moments, whether it's replaying traumatic moments or replaying what you consider to be the best times, and sulk in the now, missing the past. How do you break that cycle?
Yeah, well, it's just mindfulness, which I technically don't like the word, because who would want their mind to be full? I think we already have that. But what I like is just mind awareness. You can't change what you're not aware of. So first you have to recognize the pattern of the thoughts that come and go, and then recognize that you are not these thoughts. That simple recognition is, I think, the biggest step that a person can make towards a healthy mental health. Coming back into the moment, knowing that you are not these thoughts that come and go. This is it. And it's, I say this, I've said it a million times, and maybe people are bored of me saying it. And maybe some people are meant to hear it. You can tell people something 1,000 times and they just don't hear it. But maybe 10 years from now, they say, "Oh, I get it now."
Got to be the right time.
Right place, right time, when that seed is actually going to grow. But all we could do is plant the seed and maybe fertilize it. But when Mother Nature's ready for the seed to grow, it'll grow. So I look at people like that. And when they're ready to get the message, they'll receive it. So when I tell people all the time, it's really knowing that you are not these thoughts, this thinking mind. If you can recognize that, which can only be recognized in silence, in meditation, that's power. That, people ask me, what's my most proud moment or the best moment of my life? It was that recognition that I wasn't these thoughts, that I wasn't this body. Because when you can identify from we can call it spirit, but maybe it's not even, it's just a word. Spirit is just a word. Soul is just a word. But let's use these words for the sake of communication. When you can speak and sit in and speak from a spiritual perspective, nothing can hurt you. It might be pain, but it's not suffering. Everything is coming and going. Everything is passing. Gurdjieff said, that's all you really need to know. Everything that comes into existence will eventually go out of existence. That's Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, Jainism. That's it. And if we can recognize that the thoughts are just coming and going, then we can stay in the now. But there's also physical. Some people, I always say there's different portals that people can go through to get to the same place, right? There's a book called the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, which details 112 meditations, 112 practices.
Have you done them all?
I've read them all. I don't know if I've done them all. I've done many of them. So I said the word tantra, and people probably hear, "Oh, tantra is it? 112 sexual positions."
Right. Yeah. That's where everyone's first goes, right?
So tantra is actually an ancient system. It actually has nothing to do with sex. In this book, with 112 practices, only 2 of them have anything to do with sex. And even though they have to do something with sex, it's not about sex. What it is, these specific practices are at the point of orgasm, you put your mind fully on God. Right. Ooh. So it's not a sexual position. It's not, Kama Sutra or anything like that. But Tantra is a pathway to God, to bliss, to joy, to peace. All of these words that point to the same thing, divine consciousness. So there's many, many different ways to get there, different portals. And I would advise anybody who's interested to definitely pick up that book. Yoga is a form of Tantra. The breath can be like attention on the breath can bring us into the now, specifically the space between the breath. So in a moment between when you exhale and inhale, or inhale and exhale, there's a space. There's a small space. There's a gap.
Yeah.
And when you focus your attention on that gap, this is it. This is going to bring you to the now so just beautifully and quickly when you focus on that gap. And there's another tantric practice that focuses on the gap between words, right? So when I'm speaking now, you focus on the space in between each word. And so when your mind focuses on that space, it becomes spacious. You become clear. It's the space between the notes that makes the music, right? Matter, you look at our universe, matter is only 0.0000001% of the universe. It's mostly space. Space is intelligent. Space is, I mean, you want to worship anything, worship space, because space is what gives everything its ability to exist. And when you can put your mind into a spacious awareness, a spacious consciousness, that's it, full stop.
Why do you think so many people are afraid of space? I mean, especially in that sense of silence. People, use filler words. I just used one saying, Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Oof. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was Blaise Pascal who said that all of man's troubles can be traced back to his inability to sit in a room by himself with his own thoughts. We're afraid of the mind. We're we're kind of afraid of ourselves, but it's just a thought. It's, the cave that we fear holds the treasure we desire. When we go into that space, when we go into that silence, we find out actually there's nothing to be afraid of. The monster doesn't have any teeth. We can give it a hug and become friends with it. That's why I love compassion, loving kindness practices, because when we're in that state of fear, it dissolves when we can come at it with a loving consciousness. Love, compassion, I think, is the ultimate body armor. Somebody wrote a book called Whatever Arises, Love That. And that's it. If you can, what is love, right? That's a big one. That's a big, controversy. Many people think love is this romantic thing, roses and trips to Paris and, horse and carriage.
That sort of surface level.
Yeah, surface level. But I think love, you don't fall in love, you rise in love. I think the most loving thing someone can say is not, I love you, but I am you. Love is that energy that exists in all of us before the mind turns on. It's a pure space, a pure state that is clear seeing. And when you can hold that vibration of love, the manifestations happen spontaneously. Like the rose. The rose isn't trying to emit a beautiful fragrance. It just is that. And so when we can go back to our isness, which is love, then our beautiful fragrances will emit to our families, our communities, our cities, our countries, and the world.
That's awesome. I never realized how hot this floor gets.
Yeah, okay.
It's like my
feet. Feet need love too. I gotta sweat a little bit.
I almost have to keep shifting between floorboards. So I kind of want to shift gears a little bit. Everyone knows that when you're on like social media, you always see like the best of someone. You're always giving advice, and some may even feel like you're up on sort of a pedestal. What would you say has been your biggest mistake in life?
I think my biggest mistake has been not leading an authentic life. And yet it's the feeling you get when you don't lead an authentic life that compels you to lead an authentic life. So is it a mistake? I think not. This is the biggest mistake I think anybody can make, is to not be you, be your unique manifestation.
When do you feel like you weren't living an authentic life? And when did it occur to you?
It's tough to live an authentic life in this world, and you have to be aware in every moment. There are certain moments that you might say something that isn't authentic. You might, do something because it's, socially acceptable, the social right thing to do, but it's not your authentic self. So even in these small moments, those count. So this is why this is why I think the biggest achievement that we can have is to awaken to who and what we are and to live it fearlessly. So my life has kind of always been going against the grain and leaning into that. Growing up when I was interested in studying anthropology, everybody's like, what the heck are you going to do with an anthropology degree?
Right. Teach it? Yeah. Right. That's the joke, right?
You need to get a real job. You need to get a real something, a trade. This is what family members told me. And I was like, I just don't want to. This is just me. I just got to follow it. When I was doing music, people laughed at me. They're like, what the heck you got? This is a 1 in a million chance to do this. What are you doing? It was just in me. I just had to kind of go for it. Social media, YouTube. What the heck? Does YouTube have a 401k? Does YouTube have any insurance? How are you going to make YouTube a job? I just felt like this was something. So for me, I think most of the time I've been lucky enough to answer the call to my true calling. But also, there are moments that I think we can sell out or we can compromise, whether it's a deal, whether it's, you might not tell your friend something that they need to hear, out of kindness. And, that's why self-reflection is so important, to really observe. There's nobody's perfect. We're all growing and trying to figure it out on this planet. And, but I say the more you can figure you out, the better your life will be. Start with, Simon Sinek had a book called Start With Why, and I think the why is beautiful. I think having a why when you get up to drive you and motivate you. But I think you really need to start with who. Who the heck are you? Because the foundation is you, right? You got to be before you can do, and do before you can have. It starts with who are you at your core. Sit with yourself in silence. Be with yourself. Just watch the thoughts. You don't have to attach to them. You can just simply observe and watch them as clouds going and coming in the sky. And that exercise alone, and it's so simple. It's simple, but maybe it's not easy. And there's so many distractions, I think, in our lives, in the world, that take us away from our true selves. This is what our culture is based on. Every advertisement, marketing is, get this to be accepted or to feel better about yourself. How successful but would a marketing campaign be if they told you you're already perfect as you are? I guess Patagonia kind of tried it. That's why I like Patagonia. They did the don't buy our stuff. Don't buy ours. Get it. We'll fix it for you. Or like Patagonia was kind of lean. But where would makeup or the supplement industries go if they say you are actually already beautiful and perfect as you already are?
Right. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing all on its own. Is everyone judges themselves so harshly, even me, and you can't help but compare yourself to other people. I'm sitting here, I feel like I'm the first person to kind of rock the dad bod a little bit in the sauna. And, how do you get out of that mind frame of judging yourself harshly and comparing yourself to others and, what society says you should be?
Yeah, I sound like a broken record, but it's the same answer to every question you ask. It's because every judgment is what? It's a thought. And if you can observe the thought and ask yourself, as Byron Katie says, is that true? Is it true? Is it true? And really get in touch with the way that your mind can con you, can convince you of things. It's only through stillness and meditation can you get to a point where you recognize, hey, I don't have to be loyal to these thoughts if they're not loyal to me. Acceptance is key. I say acceptance because acceptance is love. I think the ultimate mindset is you are perfect as you are, and you can get better. See, this is kind of a balancing act, and maybe some people might not be able to fathom the almost seemingly paradox of my statement. But if you can recognize that you already are perfect and complete as you are at this moment, and you can improve, there's no more resistance there, because so many people feel like they're not enough. Right. This is the virus of our society, this feeling of not enoughness. Right. But if you can recognize that actually this universe is smarter than I am, and the only reason I suffer is because I think that my version of the universe or my version of the world is more intelligent or more right than the way that the universe is. That's how we suffer. Suffering comes down to that. I can't think of any other reason why a human being could suffer other than arrogance. And, that may sound harsh, but if you think about it, you have a blueprint of the way you think the world should operate, the way you think people in your world should operate. And that runs up against the way that the world operates and the way that people in your world operate. Therefore, you get this dichotomy almost. And the solution is surrender. The solution is acceptance. And I think once we can accept and surrender to the now, then we have it's a beauty of a freedom, a peace to really change it. Because if you have a sense of wanting to change things out of fear, then you're just going to create more of that, right? Jack Kornfield, he said, hatred never ceases with more hatred, but by love alone is healed. Love is another name for love is understanding. Another word for understanding is acceptance. Accepting the way things are and coming at, Ram Dass, he said, The world is perfect as it is, and so is my desire to want to heal it. You got to be able to walk this line. And I think first, you have to have that compassion for yourself that you are perfect as you are and you can heal. And actually now is the exact moment that you have been called to do that, to change that. But you have to first get rid of all your resistance, all of the low vibration frequencies of fear and wanting to change, and just watch yourself first, love yourself first. And then the beauty of the transformation will happen, will sprout out of that.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm sweating. I'm ready.
You sweating? Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready for a little hydration.
Let's do it. Let's get some coconut water.
All right.
Hey, I'm always sweating though.
Yeah.
Even when I'm walking outside. How you feel?
It definitely it puts you in a different mindset for sure. You feel a little high. I've never done. Yeah. I guess you could say a little bit like that.
All right. The hydration session. We got the coconut water. We got the spring water. We're out of the sauna. I'm ready to kick this thing off. So now we got some Q&A, some questions from people who've submitted.
Yeah, straight from your fans.
Straight from the audience. Okay, let's do it. Let's see the community questions. What you got?
All right, so first question. Let's see what it's about.
So firstly, my name is Krishna Soranke, and my question is how to deal with the exams of your life, the pressure, fear of losing, anxiety, and many things that happen with people, especially teenagers. And one more question, that in today's life, many teenagers are distracted from their goals, and some even cannot get what is their purpose, their goal in their life. They waste their precious time in doing bad things, you know what bad things, and they cannot deal with life. They just do some things which are not expected. And can you please do this session on this topic?
The teenager's question was advice for teenagers who are dealing, what did you say? You said doing bad things in life?
Yeah, how to essentially today with teenagers, there's so many distractions, and they feel this urge to kind of act out and do bad things. I mean, we all went through it. Every generation goes through these acting out, just doing dumb, bad things that you later regret. How do what advice do you have for them and to find themselves now instead of when they're 40?
Yeah, it's great. No, it's a good question. For me, I didn't get really turned on in life until I found something that I was deeply passionate about. So for me, actually, it was music, and not just music. It was conscious music. It was music that had meaning and had purpose. Before that, I didn't get good grades. My teachers wanted to hold me back, in class, bad report cards. I kind of did the whole thing. I was what I felt was the least academically successful of my three brothers, kind of in the back, because I didn't have any guidance. I don't think I really had a passion. And once I found it, everything changed. So my advice would definitely be to follow your bliss. Not your excitement, not your happiness, but follow your bliss. And what is bliss? Bliss is something that gives you a deeper peace, kind of like this is why I'm here. This really invigorates me from a deep level. And I think go all in. I think at when you're younger, it's easier to make mistakes. So I feel like the guy who asked the question talked about, students and kids and teenagers making mistakes, doing bad things. And I think you get to a certain point in life where the outcomes of your mistakes are much more serious. But as a teenager, I think you should definitely make mistakes. Meaning not you should, drink and, go out and party, I mean, yeah, you can do that for sure. But I mean more so mistakes like go after what you love. And if it's not that thing, maybe it'll lead you to that thing. So I think following your bliss is number one. Number two, getting in the books. Point blank period. You are who you are and where you are because of what's been going into your mind, and you can change who you are and where you are by changing what's going into your mind. So for me, I became obsessed with information, with books, with knowledge. And yeah, in the beginning, it was kind of like a feeling of, I know this, I know things that other people don't know, and that gives you a good feeling. I think we love to feel special and, in some sense superior or just aware. So for me in the beginning, I love politics. And I love the history of politics, political science. And so I was super into that, and I could engage in political conversations. And it was just, it gave me a level of understanding that eventually turned into science and turned into art and turned into psychology and anthropology. But it all started kind of with my curiosity in politics. So number one, you want to find your bliss. Number two, you want to find some books. And I think number three, I think you want to find a mentor. I think at that age, finding somebody who is where you want to go and keeping them close and helping them, not even asking them how you can be of service to their life, but just doing it, just helping them. And eventually, they might take you on as a kind of an understudy. And I think that is a great life hack to really get focused, get to where you want to go, because they will teach you where the bumps in the road are. They'll teach you how not to make the mistakes that they made, and they'll get you to where you want to go quickly. But you got to make sure that that's really your bliss. That's really your calling. Because if it's just somebody they might have a lot of material wealth and they might not be truly at peace with their own life, then you have to make a decision on whether you want to keep them as your full mentor or maybe part-time mentor. Maybe you just utilize the advice that they give you for certain areas, and you use somebody else maybe at your church or maybe at your monastery or wherever for more of a spiritual mentor. And I think it's good to have both a business and a spiritual mentor, especially at that age. Yeah, that would be my three-pronged approach.
You mentioned that you weren't a good student, which kind of surprises me, having seen the photos of your book collection as a teenager and whatnot.
Yeah.
Do you think part of that is just the school system today, that it's just so try to one size fits all and kids kind of bored?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I've done content on this, the school system is based on the factory model. Students get the grade of A, just like a certain food gets grade A of meat. It's the same system. I think students are kind of put through the ringer like cattle. And it's really up to the individual to kind of break out of that. It's so super important because many people never do. And there are some great teachers out there and maybe some not so great teachers. And I always put the responsibility on the individual. I felt like I never wanted to rely on somebody else to take me to where I felt like I should be. That's why I was I was very self-taught. An autodidact is the word, but it wasn't during, my grade school years. My grade school years were basically, me not really caring about what the teacher was talking about, because it didn't feel like that they cared about me. So my interest in education and information happened after music. So this is actually maybe like my last years in high school. Things really, really turned on for me. It was just passion, that information without passion, I think is just dead. And it really is up to, I think, the teachers the onus is kind of on them, right? There are no bad students, only inflexible teachers. So teachers, I think the onus is definitely on them, but you can't rely on that either. I think for the students, you really have to be driven and be self-taught if you want to really be happy, healthy, and successful in this world.
All right, let's do another question.
Let's do it.
This one is from Muhammad.
Okay, great.
How to pay attention?
Well, that's a good one. Okay. See, I'm very short and sweet like Muhammad is. I've kind of learned to, talk in abundance, but I love that. I love, the terseness of his question. Mark Twain, he said if he wrote a letter to his friend And he said, I'm sorry for such a long letter. If I had more time, I would have made it shorter. There's beauty in simplicity. So that was a very simple question. I'll try to give a very simple answer. It depends on what, right? It depends on what you're trying to pay attention to. We pay attention to things that we care about, things that we're excited about, right? Nobody had to force me to listen to conscious hip hop and to pay attention to what lyrics these rappers were rapping. Nobody had to force me to do that, you know, or teach me to do that. It was just, I was so inspired. So I think when you're inspired, you're going to pay attention naturally, and you don't have to try to pay attention to it. So that's number one. Something that you're passionate about, taught in a passionate way, in an exciting way. There's many ways to teach a subject, right? So finding teachers that really can speak your language is a great shortcut, whether it's something separately, a book or a lecture or an audio. Finding that subject that you're trying to learn about taught in an interesting way, I think, is key. Okay, what's another way? Well, did you know that if you're dehydrated by 2%, your focus and attention is off? So your attention, the way your brain works, is based a lot about what you're putting into your body. So staying hydrated, making sure you have proper electrolytes, magnesium, potassium, sodium in your system will allow you to pay attention faster, right? So now we're getting into kind of like the chemical makeup of attention. There's a supplement that I take every day that is super helpful. It belongs in a category called nootropics. Coffee is a nootropic. I don't drink coffee. I'd say water is definitely a nootropic, just for the benefits to how it can just sharpen your mind if you're properly hydrated. But I take a supplement called Bacopa Moneri or Brahmi. This is an Ayurvedic supplement that is totally natural. Obviously, you know, if you're interested in taking it, do your research, you know, talk to a healthcare practitioner, make sure there are no contraindications with other medicines you might be taking. It's not a medicine, it's an herb, but you want to make sure you do your research. And the attention that you can get, see, Brahmi is similar to adaptogens. They're called adaptogens. So what adaptogens do is, if you're dealing with the stress of like an exam or school, they actually can relieve that stress so that you can focus better and more completely. So I'd say increasing your certain supplements would also be helpful, and just eating a proper diet of plant-based whole foods, real foods, foods that rot, foods with ingredients you can pronounce. Fasting is known to increase focus as well, right? Because if you eat a big meal, right, you eat a big hamburger or something like that, what do you want to do? You want to sleep. You just want to lay down and digest, because it's a lot of energy to digest that food. Your gut and your brain are connected, right? They say your gut is your second brain. You have 100 million neurons, brain cells in your gut, right? More neurons in your gut than in your spinal cord. And what am I getting at? Well, if you take care of your gut health, you'll take care of your brain health. So that's another way that you can pay attention, right? The foods that you eat. Movement is also another way, right? What do we see in classrooms? We see people sitting down. Scientists are just so clear on this. When you're up, when you're on your two legs, when you move, your brain, your memory, your recall is 10 times better. This is why the philosopher Descartes said all great ideas come from going on a walk, right? Some of the greatest philosophers and artists, they moved in order to stimulate their brain and focus. So, okay, how does this translate to paying attention? Well, a standing desk, a treadmill desk will be awesome. And the final thing, because I can go on and on with attention hacks, but the last one, this was written in a book by John Medina called Brain Rules. He said, actually, the brain can only pay attention for about 20 minutes at a time. And then you need a break. So this is, I think it's Podoro's rule, where you study for 20 minutes, you take a 5-minute break, and then you go back, right? This is proven to be just more successful in whether you want to get work done or you want to study better or just stay focused on something. 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off, and then you go back, kind of like that cadence. Super popular, super powerful when it comes to focus and attention.
Thanks for keeping that short and simple.
Yeah, you got it. Well, difference, it's so many ways up the mountain.
Yeah.
And I feel like I always was the type of guy to want to throw the kitchen sink at stuff.
Right.
Like dealing with mental health, I don't just want to do, I don't know, a SSRI or a medication. Let's do a medication paired with a therapy, paired with exercise, paired with nutritional therapy, paired with more social support. I just like to throw the kitchen sink at problems and something has to hit. So that's always been my approach, is just throw everything at it and see what sticks.
All right, let's do another one. This is Justin.
Justin.
Hey, my name is Justin, and I am a published author on Amazon. I published a book called The Academic Revolution. It's a critique on the education system. And I was wondering if you would like to make a podcast talking about, well, the problems within the education system. Because I remember you made a couple videos talking about that topic. I would like to elaborate more on them.
Yeah, wow.
Do you think you could do a whole episode on academics and
I'd
education?
like to do a whole episode on, or maybe 20% of the episode on the problems and 80% on the solutions. I think we know the problems. I think we've understood the problems, but let's talk about what outcomes that we want, right? I still haven't come up with, there's still no consensus to the question of what school is for. I still haven't figured that one out. I ask teachers, professors, what is school for? What's it for? There's no common answer. And I think let's get a common answer. Is it to create a healthy, happy individual that can contribute their gifts to society? Or is it to create factory workers to, just kind of keep the system going? I'd like to just find out what is school for, and then we have a mission statement. And then I think we can send that mission statement out to all the middle school, high school, grade schools, universities. This is what school should be, and this is what we're looking to get out of the school system. So let's do something with that. I'm definitely down to talk about that, because I don't think there's a more important topic than education.
This is an anonymous one, so we'll see how this turned out.
Okay.
Hello, Prince EA. My name is Bright, and I'm talking from Ghana. I really love your videos, and I'm looking forward to see you in Ghana. I really love your videos, and you are my role model. You are my role model, and I sometimes memorize your motivations online, and when I memorize it, I say it in class, and my friends will be like, "Oh, how did you do it?" And then I tell them that I learned it from Prince E, so they start following you. Yeah. Thank you.
The power of social media can really make mice roar like lions. I've always felt that. And that's the potential of these platforms, is really to get positive, powerful messages out there. I think as a creator, it's our responsibility to not dig people deeper into illusion, but to really free people. And I'm so happy to hear my brother from Ghana with such kind words, because number one, I did a DNA test and I've got some background in Ghana. Number two, I'd love to go to Ghana. I hear great things about it. And number three, I was like that too. I would memorize some of my favorite lyrics from artists. And I think that's a powerful teaching and learning mechanism as well, because, repetition is the mother of mastery. When you can repeat concepts, ideas, phrases over and over, it gets deeper into the subconscious. So I love that he said that, and I'm just so grateful for the support. Keep going, keep going, keep going. You can do anything, be anything, travel to wherever you want to travel to. It starts in here and in here. And right now, if you're listening, I'm pointing to the head and the heart. Right. So if you've got the intellect, the know-how mixed with the passion and the heart, you can move mountains.
All right, let's do one more. This is from Robert.
Hi, Richard. My name is Robert, and my question to you is, who is your biggest inspiration when darkness reigns around you and the path that once called you seems nowhere to be found? Because to me, that person is you. From the very first moment I saw you and heard your voice, you have guided me like the North Star through the darkest nights. In you, I saw a reflection of my own light and the very essence of my being. You have shown me the endless love that comes from within. And I'm curious to know if you've ever experienced that. I hope we meet one day and create masterpieces that define love in its truest form. But nevertheless, wherever you are, know that you are loved unconditionally. Thank you.
Wow. Well, in this moment, that inspired me so much just to hear that. Wow. Oof. Who's my inspiration when times get tough? mm, I've always been inspired by people on this planet who didn't, the people who made $1 billion and who get Oscars and Grammys, and that's great. That's super, super cool and great. But the people who really just touched my heart and inspired me were people who can really live free on this planet. Freedom has always inspired me. Freedom from their own thoughts, their own limiting beliefs, the ability to say no when the whole world says yes, to really stand your ground and walk your own path. People who've done that have always inspired me. So these people are everybody from the Buddha himself to Lao Tzu to Rumi to Ramana Maharshi to Nisargadatta Maharaj. People who have recognized that they are not this body and this mind, because I think this is the highest recognition. So when I come back to stories from people like that, they definitely inspire me. They definitely inspire me. And also, when times get tough, one thing that really snaps me back into reality is life itself and the impermanence itself. So it might not be a person, but it's the fact that this person here, known as Prince EA, could go any minute. We had a little break from the podcast, and I saw today a famous actor passed away. An actor who was one of the lead characters on a show called The Wire. He was 60 years old, super, super duper talented, 60 years old. And, there's some people who are 30, who are 20, who are 6 months that pass. And so the unpredictability of life itself is, for me, one of my best friends when I remember it. I always tell people, if you really want to bond with another person, or even yourself, but if you want to bond with another person, maybe, a romantic interest, don't take them to the theme park. Don't take them to dinner and a movie. Take them to the graveyard. Take them to the graveyard, because the graveyard, you will walk around and it will guaranteed bring your bond closer, because you will recognize that just like these people in these graves, I too will one day be there. You see the birth date on every gravestone, and you see the death date. And our life is that dash in between. Lisa Nichols says, make that dash dance. And so for me, when times are tough, I think about the impermanence. I, go to the graveyard and see that, hey, things might be tough, but here I am. Here I am. And I think, as they say, triumph is nearest when defeat seems inescapable.